South of ancient Egypt, beyond the familiar pyramids of Giza, another great power thrived. A kingdom whose story has too often been forgotten. This was the Kingdom of Kush, a land of wealth, invention, and resilience. More than 4,500 years ago, in the heart of what is now Sudan and southern Egypt, the first Kushite kingdom emerged. At Kerma, powerful rulers built cities of mud brick, raised massive burial mounds, and controlled the lifeblood of Africa's trade. Gold, ivory, ebony, and incense flowed north to Egypt and beyond, while African culture flowed outward from Kush. Kerma was not a shadow of Egypt, it was a civilization in its own right. As centuries passed, Kush grew in strength, and when Egypt weakened, the Kushites seized their moment. From their capital at Napata, they marched north, conquering the Nile Valley. By the 8th century BCE, the Kushites became Egypt's 25th dynasty, the so-called Black Pharaohs. Kings like Pai, Shabaka, and Taharka revived ancient traditions, restored temples, and ruled from the Delta to Nubia. They carried the double crown of Egypt and Kush, proving Africa's deep south could rival the power of the north. But Kush was never a mere copy of Egypt. They built pyramids of their own, steep-sided, elegant structures unique to Nubia. Their architecture reflected both inheritance and innovation, blending the sacred traditions of the Nile with their own African identity. When Egypt was lost again, Kush endured. The capital shifted further south to Meroe. Here, a new chapter unfolded, one marked by invention and industry. Forests of acacia fueled vast furnaces. Kushite blacksmiths became masters of ironworking, producing weapons, tools, and plows. Iron was strength. Iron was progress. And Meroe became one of the first great industrial centers of Africa. So mighty was its output that scholars call it the Birmingham of Africa. But the genius of Kush was not only in iron. Here, they forged their own voice, a bold step into intellectual independence. The Meroitic script, one of the earliest alphabets in Africa, emerged. With 23 characters, it combined vowels and consonants in a system unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs. Though much of it remains undeciphered, it speaks of a people who sought to write their own history. Kush also stood apart in another way. Here, women ruled as queens. The Kandakes, powerful queens and queen mothers, were sovereigns, generals, and diplomats. One legend tells of a Kandake who faced down Alexander the Great's armies. Others led Kushite warriors into battle, their crowns gleaming beneath the desert sun. In Kush, leadership was not bound by gender. For centuries, Meroe thrived. Trade linked Kush to the Mediterranean, to Arabia, to sub-Saharan Africa. They exported gold and iron and imported ideas. They built temples to gods both Egyptian and their own. They carved a unique culture, one that blended influences but always remained proudly Kushite. Yet even the mightiest kingdoms are vulnerable. By the 4th century CE, Kush was weakened. Centuries of iron smelting stripped the land of forests. Overfarming and climate change drained the soil. Trade routes shifted eastward, bypassing the Nile. And from the highlands of Ethiopia, a new power arose, the Kingdom of Aksum. Strong, wealthy, and hungry for expansion, Aksum pressed into Kushite lands. Around 350 CE, King Ezana of Aksum declared victory over Meroe. The furnaces went cold. The script fell silent. And after more than 2,000 years, the Kingdom of Kush was no more. But the story of Kush did not vanish. It lingers in the sharp pyramids that rise from the desert, in the fragments of an undeciphered alphabet, and in the memory of a people who built one of Africa's greatest civilizations. The Kingdom of Kush, not just Egypt's shadow, but a light of invention, power, and pride. If you are new here, don't forget to follow the channel. Thank you for watching.